New on Curiosity Stream.
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new Connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Between aging and busy lifestyles, many women struggle with maintaining their physical and mental wellness. At Aquavita Concierge Healthcare Services for Women, we can help you revitalize your health and reclaim your life. We start from within by balancing your hormones, allowing your body to achieve and maintain desired weight goals. We also specialize in peptide therapies, regenerative medicine, sexual health, and aesthetics in our state-of-the-art facilities. Feel better, look better, live better at Aquavita. Visit aquavitality.com and begin your journey today.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis, a podcast dedicated to the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. Fruit Loop, how are you?
I'm good.
That's good to hear.
After this reading, I'm good.
Yeah, Fruit Loop has taken a deep dive into Chad Daybell's autobiography. What's it called?
You asked me, and I honestly can't remember.
Well, it's his autobiography. Yeah. So, we've kind of had a busy week on the home front, just at our separate houses. So this week I got bit by a snake and a tree fell on my house.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, but I'm good. It was a non-poisonous snake, and I need years of therapy because that's honestly been my biggest fear in life is getting bit by a snake, and it happened. And the house is good, just some external damage.
We've had some bad storms, so.
Good grief, I know. It's like Armageddon outside every night. My dog's having panic attacks.
Yeah.
Literal panic attacks. It's been insane. So we wanted to do a little show for you tonight. We're going to talk about Chad's autobiography soon, but we have a few topics that we just kind of pulled out of thin air just in our conversations in the last few days. Fruit Loop, I've been thinking about Lori not being at this hearing the other day for the media. And I tell you, I kind of think Lori might be turning.
Could be.
You know, if you think about it, Lori has turned on every other husband that she's had. I don't know why Chad would be any different at some point.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
It seems like anybody who crosses her.
Oh, definitely. Especially men. You know, when she's done with a man, the last two husbands ended up dead. And so I don't know. I just kind of thought maybe since there was sort of the question of whether she was showing some emotion at that previous hearing that Colby was in on.
Yep.
And I was just kind of laying in bed last night, sort of just thinking. And I don't know. I just think maybe she's turning. Just a gut.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. That could really throw a wrench in some stuff. Because I just think that's where it has to go in the end if either one of them are going to have any kind of a defense.
Yeah, I mean, if she's turning on them, I don't see how they can try them together.
Yeah, that would put a total nail in that coffin.
Yeah.
But no, I just feel like that at some point, I think it's just going to have to be that they accuse the other of being the mastermind. So we'll see. I don't know. We've got the big preliminary coming up on Monday. We are gearing up for that. It's going to be a busy couple of days. And then the following week, we have Lori's. So what are you hoping to maybe learn at this preliminary?
I think the big thing is pings from cell phones.
Yes.
So I'm wondering what evidence they're going to throw out there. Are they going to throw out Chad's and Lori's? And we already know Alex's, but are they going to throw out Tylee's?
And, you know, I think the thing with Alex, too, is they shared what they had to share. There could be more in those pings in those few days that they haven't revealed yet.
True.
For me, I was thinking I am actually really interested if it were to come out in the trial to see if they have found any insight from Tylee through her cell phone stuff, through phone calls or like text messages or maybe inbox messages on Facebook. Because, I think the one thing I'm curious about is what was Tylee thinking in those last few months?
Yeah. What was she thinking of Chad?
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't think it's ever been super confirmed, but there was somebody that posted not too long ago. I believe it may have been it wasn't on a Facebook group, I don't think, but she said that she could have swore that she remembers seeing Lori and Tylee at an event maybe in 2017, which was like a speaking event, maybe a preparing of people. I don't know if it was that one. But she said she specifically remembers Tylee coming up and asking her husband for an autograph. So maybe Tylee did know Chad. We don't know really how long they've actually been in contact or when they first met. We've heard when was it they said they first met?
Melanie Gibbs' statement was 2018, I think.
Yeah, right. Towards the end of the year.
Yeah, the fall of 2018.
Yeah. But I think maybe even Tylee's messages to friends or you just never know. They might be able to find some information on her phone too.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see if she was communicating to other people that maybe she wasn't comfortable with stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find out a lot. And I don't think it's going to be a huge dump of the most incriminating stuff they have, but I think they're going to have to put some stuff up there.
Yeah. And the interesting thing on this is we have the two separate cases. So the witnesses are going to have to testify both times.
Yeah, that's one of the things about why a lot of people think that the prosecution would want to combine the trials because they're essentially the same charges and the same evidence. So why, if they're co-conspirators, they've been named as co-conspirators, and I don't know. I just think that could it just be that the two defense attorneys have been talking and said, look, maybe I think she's turning, and you can't do it together if they're both going to point fingers at each other.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I mean, some of the legal analysts on Court TV, it's you have some saying, I don't know why they're not combining these cases. And then you have the others saying, well, probably not the smartest thing to do. But the transcripts, I think it was maybe Ashley Banfield last night. One of them was talking about, like you said, two separate witnesses. The testimony can sort of change slightly between the two hearings, and that's something defense will jump all over.
Yeah, because you can ask a question in a different way. So.
Oh, yeah. And then you have the issue of transcripts, which you have to do transcripts for both those hearings, and you can bet defense is going to go over testimony with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, and I mean, truth is truth, but...
Yeah, but that's their job. Their job is to pick apart anything that they might be able to create a little doubt. Right now with the judge. Yeah. There's no jury present. Big week, though. I'm really excited.
Yeah. You found a little bit something else about the storage lockers or something. You were thinking on that?
Yeah, I just sort of, every now and then I kind of just run through the internet, and this case really, it feels like we've known about it for years. And you forget some of the little things you learned early on. And the one thing that sort of hit me, a picture of the storage locker came up, was how that was just such a minimal amount of stuff to be moving two kids from Arizona to a freezing cold environment.
Yeah, and the stuff in the locker was for winter.
Yeah. Now, they may have taken stuff, but I mean, the townhomes were pretty empty when they went in.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? I mean, there wasn't much there at all.
Yeah. And I know in July when they were in Arizona, going through when Charles was shot, those rooms, I mean, it had suitcases in them.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the last two places that we've seen pictures of on the inside, it was almost like they just weren't going to stay very long.
Yeah.
So why even bother unpacking? But it did. It sort of hit me. Seeing that picture of the kids, I think they had maybe made like a picture blanket or something with pictures of the Tylee and JJ over the years.
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, it's just hard to see that and to see bikes in there and think, but there was no volume of stuff.
No.
I just kind of wonder what was that last few weeks like? I mean, Tylee was there a week before she died.
And you look at, we've both lived in our houses a long time, and the stuff that's there.
Oh gosh.
It's a lot of stuff.
I probably have Jimmy Hoffa in my back closet.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably find him back there.
Yeah. So it's really weird.
Yeah.
But they did move around a lot. So
they did. I mean, if you remember, that was one thing that Colby said in an interview when she came by and told him that they were moving. She wouldn't tell him where, but he said, look, just give the kids a home base, give them somewhere to plant, to just be. And,
grow roots.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, it's so hard for kids to get comfortable, and especially with an autistic kid, routine is crucial for kind of a consistent behavior, and, had to have been hard on JJ, I think.
Yeah.
All of this. So one funny thing, Fruit Loop, that I was watching, I watch court TV every night when I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep. And the last few nights they've been showing clips of Chad in court for this hearing with his lawyer. And every night when they're just showing that picture on court TV and I'm laying there watching, I sit up and think that my internet's out. I think maybe my TV's buffering because they are like statues.
Your screen is froze.
Yeah, you know how I knew it wasn't buffering? At one point, one of Chad's nostrils flared. And I was like, wait, I'm not buffering. They're just sitting there like statues. It's just so weird.
Yeah.
They have the matching ties, too. Everybody's been talking about that. The hearing before this last one, they both had on blue ties.
Yep.
Now they have on red ties.
Yep. I wonder what this week will be.
I don't know. We'll see.
Let's everybody send out what is that? Tweet it.
Yeah.
What color tie?
We'll do a poll.
Yeah. What color is the tie going to
be? So we were talking, I think maybe on the last podcast, or the one before that, about how we came to know about this case, and I'd heard about it and talked to you about it. And so in the very early days before we started this podcast, we just had each other to talk to. And so we went through a lot of theories about what we thought would happen. And so we've had so much news since then. In the beginning of this case, Fruit Loop, when you first started reading about it and learning about it, what was your first theory about the kids? Did you think that they were okay, or did you?
Yeah, initially I thought that they were just in hiding, that she was, kind of being just vindictive towards Kay, and just kind of hiding them from her so she couldn't, see JJ.
Yeah.
I truly thought that death would have been a finality, and maybe that was her intention of holding that over Kay's head and not ever telling where, they were buried.
Yeah.
But I originally did think that they were still alive and prayed that they were still alive.
Yeah. We both have sort of went back and forth, and I think sometimes on random, every other day we would change our mind. Initially, I did not have high hopes. So in the beginning, you and I disagreed on the status of the kids.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I saw that video of Lori and Tylee in the Gilbert police station when Lori was trying to get Charles in trouble, and Tylee would do that hand motion to calm her mom down, and there were no words needed. Yeah. Lori knew what it meant. Tylee knew what she had to do. And I thought, man, maybe there's no way with how they flow that she would ever hurt her. And so then I went through a phase where I thought, and you brought it up to me.
Yeah.
If you remember, you said, yeah, but think about this. Look at them in this video. And so I thought, yeah, I think maybe they're just hidden with somebody.
Yeah, because Tylee was almost being the parent.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's funny how these trials go. If you follow trials on a regular basis and there's not a lot of answers, this is kind of part of trial watching where you sort of try to figure out on your own what might have happened. And, but I think with this case, this is probably the first case I've ever followed where, you think you have a good idea of what's going on, but I kind of have a feeling we're going to find out we don't know the half of it.
Yeah, this story has changed like every day forever.
Oh yeah. It's just been amazing. So I'm really excited to learn a little more next week. I think even if we get a little bit more information, it'll maybe answer a lot of questions for us.
Yeah. And we discussed Judge Edens, what that means and what he has to look at.
Right. And it's kind of the same concept, just like eventually they don't want jurors to be influenced. And that was the argument behind not streaming this by Prosecutor Wood.
Yep.
I think you have to understand too, people that maybe think we're just not going to learn anything new. I think it's important to remember that Judge Edens has to rely on the facts as well. He can't bring in anything he's heard outside of that courtroom.
Yep.
And so I think we will get some new information. It may not be everything, but I think it'll definitely give us all something to sort of chew on. And, then we'll have a whole other set of theories once we get new facts. That's just, it's a cycle.
And Wood has to throw enough to make it stick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't want to risk not sharing enough information and the judge saying,
right.
I don't think there's enough here. So he's got to throw enough to make it stick.
Definitely. I'm curious to see if maybe there's some information or some kind of statements that would indicate they're closer to some more serious charges. If not for the kids, maybe for Tammy or Charles. I think if they're going to drive the point home, they may have to bring in some evidence from something else. Even with the kids, they may not want to tell everything right now, but yeah, I just feel like we'll get some more information because Edens just has to go on what he's being told in that courtroom.
Yep.
And I don't know that we'll hear much from the defense because they're not the ones right now with the burden of proof.
Exactly.
They don't have to prove anything right now. The state's got to prove they've got enough to take this to trial. So, the last little thing I want to talk about is we know right now this week they have sent subpoenas to 3 FBI agents and a forensic state witness who apparently must have been present with the autopsy or something. I looked her up online. She's definitely in the DNA field. So it'll be interesting to see what they're bringing. I didn't know that there were 20 FBI agents.
Yeah, there were a lot out there, if you remember on the videos.
Yeah, I just kind of thought maybe it was more Rexburg.
Yeah.
But I read this week it was 20 or more FBI agents on that property.
That's a lot.
When they found the kids.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So they're bringing in 3 of those guys and the forensic state witness. So, yeah, we're going to be on top of it for you. I'm going to put a poll up on Twitter later tonight and on Facebook. Let us know if you want me to start a new Twitter account. We talked about this on the last podcast, but it's kind of time to decide now. I need to get that Twitter account set up. We're going to ask you if for the live tweeting of the preliminary.
Does that bother you?
Does it bother you that your feed, if you follow us, may be full of my tweets? Because they will be full of my tweets. Or would you rather a second Twitter account that's separate from our main one? So look for that poll later tonight on Twitter.
Yep. And that's for people who maybe can't watch, but they can get those tweets. Yeah.
I used to do this for a living. So a lot of people like it, especially if they're at work and they just can't have a video running or can't have pods in their ear. To be able to kind of hop over every now and then and catch up on what's happening in real time. So, and it helps me too. So for when we do podcasts about the hearings next week, I can kind of go back through that Twitter feed instead of watching the entire, what's probably going to be a hours long thing.
Yeah. And if you're watching, you could turn your notifications off.
Right.
Or Twitter.
Yeah. So, or unfollow us for the day and then follow us back. We used to have people that do that all the time. So, Fruit Loop, can I just say, watching you when you've been here and you've been reading, your facial expressions reading this book have been quite entertaining. I have not looked at my phone very much. I've just sat and watched your face.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Oh my gosh.
this is a buckle up, tighten your seatbelt, because it's a little bit odd. There's odd statements. There's, and we're not poking fun. We're not making fun of anybody. We're just going to kind of dissect it a little bit for you so you can hear for yourself. We got this kind of cheap. Anyways, we're going to jump right in. So in the first part of the book, I found it kind of odd. The statement Chad makes is, if you're acquainted with any of my Daybell relatives, I hope you consider them to be good-hearted and hardworking people. He then later on goes on to say, but when the going gets tough, you can be sure we'll be there to help in any way we can. So it's been very weird reading this book, knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
It's statements he makes.
I wonder why he said that about his family. Do you think it's sort of a don't judge my family based on my book here?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's really weird.
I mean, I don't know. Just some little facts, like when Chad was in 4th grade, he wrote a short novel. It was a murder mystery. And he was in 4th grade. They actually had it printed and put it in the school library because his teacher thought it was the grandest thing.
I wonder if in the superlatives for that year, if he got most likely to be in federal prison or like state prison.
Yeah, I just tried to remember back when I was in 4th grade, and I don't think I would have wrote a murder mystery.
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that was very odd. Later on in the book, he talks about kind of his home life was kind of around his siblings, so he wasn't paid much attention. So when he was in 8th grade, they went hunting. Him and his dad and his brothers went hunting, and his brother Matt got up ahead of them a little bit, and they were hunting pheasants, I think is what it was. And so Matt scared a pheasant out. Well, Chad took his gun and went to shoot, not realizing that Matt was in front of his gun.
Oh.
So he fired, and his dad yelled no to stop. And the gun misfired.
What? So he would have hit him.
It would have shot him in the head. It would have killed his brother probably.
Oh, wow.
So then the gun misfired. So they took the bullet out, and it actually had hit the metal part on the bullet, but it didn't fire. So I just thought that was a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, do you get... So you said it's really weird for you to read this autobiography now, knowing what you know about Chad.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a theme in here? Are you seeing just a really disturbed person?
Yeah, I think the thing that I get is he didn't get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So he always longed for that attention.
Mm-hmm.
So when he would do something good and he got praised for it, that was really big. And later on he talks about, and we'll talk about it in a minute, he kind of talks about talking to a lot of dead people. And I just couldn't help when I read that part. The movie Sixth Sense, it came to my mind. That little kid's like, I see dead people. So that came to mind. But and he makes a statement, and I'll share it a little bit later. But he makes a statement, and I'm really like, wow. So another thing that I thought was really weird was he started reading non-LDS religious books. He would check them out at the library from time to time because he was still learning about doctrines of the gospel and how everything fit together. So he checked out a book about reincarnation and past lives. And he says, I can remember the dark feelings the book generated in me. I knew the spirit was telling me this is false.
How now? Do you know about how old he is when he read this?
He would have been. It was before 9th grade because he says.
Oh, okay, so a kid.
Yeah, he said, I knew we would be studying it in ninth grade seminary, so I figured I would at least be ahead of the class, talking about reading the Book of Mormon. So it was in that whole era. So 8th, ninth grade.
Mm-hmm.
So in knowing what we know now about him talking about, who he was in past lives and et cetera, you think, okay, what changed?
Yeah.
And he goes on, and what's really crazy is you see him, like at one point in his life, he was asked to help this older gentleman who could not dress himself and get out of bed. And the wife came and asked Chad, and he was younger. It was he was in ninth grade. So every day before school and then before he went to bed, he went and helped this gentleman get dressed and get ready for the day and got him out of bed. And then at night he would put him back in. And I thought, like, where did that person go?
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, where, he's caring for this gentleman. And you just think, where did he go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there have been
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
I've thought a lot about in his early days, or as a young man even, because kind of everything we've read from people that knew him, everybody's just very shocked, obviously, that he's capable of this, because he really seemed like a very nice and helpful man, according to everybody that knew him. Even his neighbor that saw him having the bonfire said, oh, they were great. They were nice people.
Yeah. So there's one part in the book where he talks about killing some bees, and he's walking home from school and he notices a bee on a flower, and he's staring at it a minute, and then he stomps it. Yeah.
You were telling me about that.
Yeah. And he ends up stomping 120. Like, he just keeps stomping and stomping and stomping.
That's weird.
So, and the words he uses, it gave him satisfaction to do that. So I thought that was odd.
Yeah. And a lot of times when serial killers have been sentenced, and then all the documentaries start and all these investigative reporting, almost everybody who has killed, like a lot of people, they start out by torturing animals or any living thing. That's always a big red flag.
Yep.
When your kid's shooting puppies with a BB gun, or it just seems to be a very common trend with killers.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm on like page 122. I have like 60 more pages to go. But so some other stuff that stuck out, I thought this was very telling. He talks about vividly remembering walking slowly across BYU's campus during a January snowstorm and thinking, there isn't a soul on earth who cares what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I think it's anytime you hear of somebody who is a child who is being ignored, it's always sad, because kids need reassurance and they need praise and they need whatever, because it seems like Chad really came from a great family.
Yeah. It just sounds like, I mean, there were other kids in the home and maybe they did, get more attention. I don't know.
I mean, I have 3 kids, and some days one just requires more attention than the other. I mean, I have 2 teenagers, so it's usually my 9-year-old.
Yes.
She demands attention. She's in a good way. She's really funny.
Yeah.
But, as parents, you do the best you can to divide your attention. So it kind of makes me think, was there some mental illness already brewing, and then the sort of isolation, sort of set the tone for him? It sounds a little bit like poor me, if he's in college saying nobody knows I'm here. I don't want to say poor me, but
that sounds like a loner.
That feeling of loneliness, I would assume, can really just shape the way you think about anything. And I mean, yeah, it's because at that point in your life, if you're in college, you're doing everything you can to fit in, and you usually have a little core group of friends.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was by himself. So
yeah, I mean, he said that he took general education classes, so he was seated with hundreds of students in large auditoriums, and he rarely sat next to the same person. So
yeah.
Then he discusses, and this is one that got me. He said, but once my life slowed down the following summer, I realized there were people in another realm who were very aware of me.
Oh.
So this is where he talks about getting into, and he had a near-death experience, and, he gets into some of that, that there were friendly spirits and there were definitely dark souls and all that. So that's when you see some of this start to turn a little bit. And one of his near-death experiences, he was married. And I think Garth was a year old maybe, and Tammy kept Garth back at the hotel to swim in the pool, and they all went to the beach or something, and he got out on some rocks and ended up almost dying because a wave crashed in, and that was one of his other near-death experiences. So there were other things in here where he would have like panic attacks and crying, and I mean, he was in college with some of these, and he would have a panic attack in class, and the professor would let him take his homework home, just sobbing.
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit into, he dated a nice girl a few times that he had met, but they really didn't click. And she told him, sorry, but you need to get out and see the world. There's more to life than Utah Valley. So you kind of, for me, I kind of see this lonely guy who hasn't dated much, and he kind of doesn't socialize much.
Well, yeah, and I think if you're a kid and you're killing 100 bees at a time and you feel satisfied, you probably have some social issues. He seems really awkward. Anytime I've seen him, even in talks he was given before all this happened, he's very monotone and he's just awkward.
Yeah.
So maybe that isolation just gave him extra time to sort of, if there's an underlying mental illness, it's sort of kind of grows. And it's interesting that he felt, or he probably was a loner, because he really did some big stuff in the last year.
Yeah.
It's kind of, almost like, did he see this as his moment to be seen? Like, now I'm important. Now I'm on your, my name is on your tongue.
Yeah. And it's almost, to me, like he built this whole thing, and we've discussed this. He built this whole thing with his near-death experiences, his talk, his speaking at all these events, his books, his book company. It's almost like he was building this up to be this high and mighty person, and he didn't get to be like a bishop or anything in the church. So then we get this branch off of AVOW and Preparing a People, and he's created this following who we know he was contacting people saying, I want to write your biography. And this was like famous people. I want to write your biography. I want to write about your near-death experience with you, be a ghostwriter. And so he's building up all this stuff. So it's like he's building his following. Yeah. And he's at the top. where when we see all these stories from his autobiography, he was at the bottom. He was like the low man on the totem pole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. He didn't share about his visions and all until he was on his mission in New Jersey. And this one gentleman he shared with, the gentleman had, I guess, seen visions as well. And Chad told him that he couldn't talk about that in his church in Utah because they wouldn't allow it. So this gentleman kind of tells him, this is the whole foundation of the church, all this stuff. So I don't know if this was a key turning point that he said, okay, yeah, this is true, and this was a turning point in his belief starting to change a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It seems like it would be. I mean, any kind of validation to somebody who didn't get a lot growing up or in college even, to have somebody validate what you're saying. And I think too, as with a lot of things that get out of hand in the world today, I'm sure social media played a big part for him, because you have to understand, you can find like-minded people about anything online, good and bad.
Yeah.
And you can, if you come in there and people don't necessarily want to be the leader, but they don't mind following, well, that was probably the perfect storm for Chad.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. So this next one, this is good. So he's on his mission. He's carrying on a conversation with this guy who is kind of odd, maybe thinking he may be possessed or something. This is what Chad's saying. And so this guy is asking him a lot of questions. So Chad says, I tried to answer his questions, but he only got more animated and aggressive. Finally, I said, now here it comes. You listening? Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for this.
He says, only Heavenly Father and the Savior know the hour of the second coming.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that changed for him later because he predicted the 22nd of July. But
I wonder if he goes back to his previous statement now that you just read.
Yeah, right. I mean,
yeah.
So,
but it goes to show you the progression. So at that point, he said he's following what most Bible based, or I know they don't use the Bible right?
Yes. Yeah, they do.
LDS uses the Holy Bible?
Yeah, they have the Bible and then they have the Mormon Bible.
Okay.
Yep.
So sorry guys, I'm not the most up on who uses what in religion.
It's okay.
That's Fruit Loop. She's like a walking encyclopedia. But yeah. So
what changed?
Well, I think probably the validation. What you're going to find is going to be the validation from these people on these forums, and then eventually these people that went to these hearings, the talks that he would give, and so you get people that think you're just wonderful and that buy into this, and then all of a sudden, it's like you've got people carrying him and fanning him and feeding him grapes, and that's probably what Chad has always craved.
Yeah.
So
it kept feeding.
Then it just gets out of hand.
Yeah, it's like a monster.
Yeah.
You just keep feeding it, and finally it's this big, huge thing.
And then in comes Lori, who wants her validation as somebody who's very important, and she's got a brother who's equally as stupid as her, and then they meet Chad. Yeah.
So this next part, hold on, buckle your seatbelt again if you took it off. So this next part, this lady, he's went in and gave a blessing or whatever before he left, and she turned around to him and told him that during the blessing she had received a vision in her mind of a girl with short blonde hair praying at the side of her bed. She later goes on and says that the girl was asking Heavenly Father to guide her and help her find the right person to spend her life with. And so the lady told him that she felt this was the girl he would marry.
Huh.
Now, blonde hair, I was like, woo, well, there was some pictures of Tammy that she did have short blonde hair at one point. So that's immediately, he goes to this book and that's what he says. He knew it was Tammy that he was supposed to marry.
Wow.
So I thought that was a little different. I'm
just going to say, I think Chad watched The Sixth Sense a few times, like you said, and just sort of went from there.
Yeah.
Just maybe is on, it's weird.
Yeah.
How he thought he saw dead people everywhere, right?
Yeah, he said one time at a basketball game, they were like everywhere. They were everywhere in the arena or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds like that movie.
It does. It's like Bruce Willis, and the little kid, The thing that's like, it's hurtful, in reading some of this, is how he talks about his family and his wife and all this stuff. And you think, where did he go? Like he talks about how much he loved her and loved his kids. And I'm not saying he doesn't love his kids, but how did he get so far gone that we are where we are now?
I just think there is some sort of evil in him. And I think that a lot of times these people that go from being a nobody to, Chad wasn't widely known outside of that small circle, but I think your head gets big and you just think that if people are buying into what you're selling, that's intoxicating.
Yeah.
If you got people that wait for word from you, like maybe you're a Messiah or you're a messenger for the Messiah, I think probably Chad just eventually started believing that.
Yeah.
I think he made it up in his head and just went with it. But when you have people saying, "Oh yeah, but what do you have to give me a blessing?"
Yeah,
I say bless you, and that's about all the blessing I do to people.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's very important that we all have somebody in our life who will shoot us straight.
Yeah,
and will say, "No, this sounds really crazy. You need to rethink this." But you need somebody that's honest with you.
Right. So I guess if I meet a guy and he tells me that I'm the niece of Jesus and I tell you that, you're going to call me on it, right?
Yeah, I'm going to. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to say,
I'll watch who I hang out with.
Exactly. So in just another little things that when he's corrected about something, because he thought he wanted to, be a seminary teacher, and he was in that training program. And one of the teachers, when he was kind of doing his student teaching, kind of sort of, corrected him on some stuff. He said, "I felt the students' respect for me slip away, and my self-esteem dropped through the floor." And I don't know about you, but if I'm correcting and I've done something wrong,
yeah,
I guess it could hurt your feelings a little bit, but if it's correcting in a good way, I don't know. So it's almost like he had to be constantly pumped up. That when you told him something wasn't right, then that bothered him.
Well, if you think about it, reading this book, okay, you probably haven't identified anything that he's expressed that he was just really good at from an early age. He was good at digging graves.
Yeah, I think the only thing at the beginning, he was in Little League. He was like a great hitter in Little League.
Yeah, but obviously he didn't keep playing that all through high school and college. So this is somebody who probably has never excelled at anything. And so when you find something that with the religion that he made up or whatever, and then you have somebody criticizing that, well, I guess if you're not used to hearing that criticism because all of the people that follow you are just praise, it was probably a little reality check that he didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you with my kids, sometimes when I have to correct them, they don't like to hear it, even though they know I'm right.
Yeah.
I got one, my son, he should be a lawyer. He likes to try to reason with me and present his arguments all the time. But there are times where with him, all three of my kids, if I'm trying to say you're wrong about this, it can crush them. Sometimes my kids are very tenderhearted, but I think a lot of times it's just that reality check that you don't know everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to be held accountable.
You do. It seems like Chad probably just stayed in the background as a kid, so he wasn't a problem, maybe, and he wasn't the family comedian. So sometimes kids like that can get lost in a family.
Yeah.
And they're just there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of complex stuff, though.
It is. And when you read it, the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, you know.
Oh man, your eyes have crossed. You've rolled your eyes, in
and I'm
your
like,
head.
you're over there like working on something. I'm like, wait, you got to hear this.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I go in there to get a cup of coffee. Your mouth's wide open. So.
And the last thing, and like I said, I'm just on like 120 something pages. So if there's anything else that jumps out, we'll definitely share it with you. But one of the last things he talks about is he saw a vision with his kids, down the road. Like his kids seemed to be in their early 20s, whatever, and they were wearing church clothes, and it seemed to be a special event. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not trying to be mean. I love everybody. But I immediately went to, is that his court hearing? Like, that's where I went with that. When I read it, I was like, oh, he saw a vision.
That's funny.
And, is it his court hearing?
Yeah.
But it was definitely eye-opening and...
I'm sure probably haunting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
In spots knowing what we know now.
Yeah.
I think over the years, once this trial's tucked away and we start getting the really in-depth studies on them, I'm curious, and I don't know that maybe if it's used as a defense in the trial as far as mental illness goes, but I would be curious to know maybe I think it's a combination of things. I mean, he's a sick man, but what exactly, is it sort of a schizophrenic thing? Is it, I think at the root of it, there's evil. And then everything else around it just got amplified by the evil.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some complex mental issues, not only with him, but obviously with Lori. But I'm curious to see what professionals think in the end. What in the world?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Obviously I don't think he's been diagnosed with anything, but some of that's a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give a shout out to Cindy, who corrected us on a word. And I've said this word like this my whole life. And y'all, we're from the South, so we get a ton of pronunciations wrong. We call things like hose pipe.
My grandma's Old South, and when she talks about rinsing a dish or clothes, it's wrench.
Yeah, wrenching.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm gonna wrench it.
So Cindy helped us correct. We say Boise for Idaho, Boise, Idaho. And Cindy reached out to us and said it's actually Boise.
Boise.
So we've been practicing that. Cindy, we have been practicing that.
We did. I walk past Fruit Loop and say Boise.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue. Boise.
Doesn't Boise sound better though?
Boise flows.
Yeah. But it's okay, Cindy. We will try. If we mess up, we're sorry.
Yeah. You guys tell us if we're saying stuff wrong, because we are.
Yeah. We probably are, but we don't do it on purpose.
I don't drink, but I saw a funny meme the other day. It said, my Southern accent isn't that bad. And then it says 3 beers later and it says speaking banjo.
Yeah.
But for me, like my Southern accent gets the thickest when I'm mad.
Yeah.
If I'm mad, I go full blown Southern redneck. Not redneck, but
yeah, just Southern drawl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah. I lived up in West Virginia for a few years, and I would have people come to me and just want me to talk because they liked hearing my Southern drawl. I
remember as a kid, we would go out to California, Seattle, Washington, and it's funny because everybody thought we were from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. A lot of people out west always thought we were from Australia.
Not your mom. There's no way your mom.
Oh, no.
Because she is so country.
My mom is just so cute.
Yep. Hey, Miss Pat.
Hey, Mama.
But yeah, so thanks, Cindy, for that. And again, guys, we have a huge week coming up.
Big week. We're still going to do the little About Us podcast probably tomorrow.
Or Saturday.
Yeah, I got to go hang with my kids. I promised him I'd watch a movie.
Yeah.
But we're still going to do that. Tell you guys a little bit about our friendship and all that jazz. But so I guess unless anything happens, we're going to be gearing up for Monday. Big day.
9 a.m. 9 a.m. That's Eastern, right?
No, that would have to be there because I don't think they would start a hearing at 7 a.m.
No, they're not 2 hours behind. They're 2 hours ahead.
Who are you talking about? No, they're 2 hours behind us, girl. Idaho.
Oh, that is right.
Oh, Lord.
I have friends in Arizona, and I should know that. Yeah.
Oh, man. You getting
old. So it's 9 their time, so 11 our time.
Yeah, your mind's going.
It is.
Yeah, so 11 a.m. Eastern time, we will start coverage. It's going to be Court TV is carrying that. They're the ones that got the right to video it.
And they're there setting up.
They're already there. Yeah, I saw the van outside today.
Yep.
So it's going to be a big deal. Do we know if they're going to be in the courtroom?
It said...
I think so.
Well, I think so. It said one videographer and one photographer.
Yeah, okay. So they will be in the courtroom.
I'm just glad we're going to have these high-def cameras.
Yes, that will be great.
Because we don't have to look at that blurriness.
I know. I wonder if Kay and Larry will be there. Colby, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been thinking about them lately. I know they've just taken some time away, and I was really worried about Grandpa Larry. He just looked so tired and devastated, and Miss Kay too. I mean, they both looked tired, but I know somebody had said that he wasn't feeling very well, and understandably. So we definitely have been thinking about
and praying for you guys this week, especially coming up these next few weeks.
It's going to be so hard for these families. I know that on one hand they're very relieved to know they'll be able to lay these kids to rest properly, but this journey is just starting for them. And I know some of Travis Alexander's family in the Jodi Arias case. And every time something comes across in the news, all these years later, it's just so hard for them. And it's just a journey that I pray to God I never have to go down. But this is going to be such a long and emotional process for them. And they're going to have to sit in court and hear really unpleasant things.
Yep.
So our hearts are just with them next week. But you guys keep an eye on the Twitter, the Facebook, the website. We're going to be updating as we go along, and I'm going to put that poll on Twitter tonight. So be sure to vote.
You need to do that tie poll too.
The
tie poll. What color's the tie going to be?
I'm going to say we've had blue and red.
Yeah. I
think maybe black.
I'm going to go with they're going to go back blue.
Okay.
That's
I'm going to
go
black and you go blue.
Okay.
All right, guys. We'll see who's right on Monday. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a great weekend. If anything crazy happens, we'll hop back on and do something. But I think it's probably going to be quiet till Monday.
Yeah. And let us know if you got a question or something. And we try to answer back questions when you shoot them to us on social media.
Right. Unless my 9-year-old has my phone for half the day.
And if you get a weird response, you know why.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. Well, you have a great rest of the evening, and we will meet you guys back here on Monday.
Good night.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.